I've never made a video before about celebrity gossip, but today Leonard Nimoy died, and I wanted to talk about it, kind of get some feelings out. It's a sad thing. Leonard Nimoy was a brilliant actor and a profound philosopher. Makes me think of his song "Illogical," where he talks about how he sings about how illogical the human race is in regards to a love story between a boy and a girl, and how the boy in love just cannot use logic at all. It's really funny. So Leonard Nimoy was the only original crew member that I never got to meet. I used to go to a lot of Star Trek conventions when I was younger. And first I met Kirk, and it wasn't at a Star Trek convention. When I was pretty young, my parents, while we were on a trip to California, they managed to get a tour of Burbank Studios, which is different than taking a tour of Universal Studios, which is like a theme park. This was actually going on a TV studio lot, where they shot the Dukes of Hazzard and the old science fiction show V, and I got to get to go on a V spaceship, and I just was really excited as a young boy. And William Shatner was there, and he was filming an episode of T.J. Hooker, and so we got to see him in this police uniform, and he was shooting this one scene, and they kept having to do it over and over again. So we kept watching him walk down this one street set, and saying the same things again and again and again. It was amusing. And then we watched him do an interview with PM Magazine, which is some old show I'm sure no one remembers. One of those Entertainment Tonight type of things, right? It was called PM Magazine. And saw him doing an interview there. And we weren't allowed to talk to him, but I did wave, and he saw me. He didn't wave back, but he saw me. And then I went to my first Star Trek convention. I think it was probably the summer between junior high and high school. And at that one, they had DeForest Kelley. And I didn't meet him one-on-one. I went and saw his speech, and he went and he spoke about what it was like being on the cast and what he thought about life and stuff like that. And then, like, a couple of weeks after that, he was gone. He died. He was the oldest of the Star Trek crew, and he was the one that died first. So I knew there's, if I wanted to meet them all, there was a time limit. And I knew the last time that Nimoy came to Denver, that was probably going to be the last chance I had to see him, and I couldn't afford to go to that convention at that point. But other conventions I went to, there was the second convention I went to was the one where Sulu was at. Oh, God, I know his name. Sulu is Takei, George Takei, right? And this was before he had come out, right? And what happened was at this Star Trek convention, the second I went down there kind of alone, or maybe my parents came, but my parents were definitely at the first one. I think they weren't at the second one. Yeah, because I called my mom. I ran into my friend Peter, who was a senior in high school, and I was a first year. And Peter's like, "Hey, dude, we got a hotel room, and we got these girls here. I've got my girlfriend here, and she's got a friend, and I want you to help me out with her friend." And da da da. And I was like, "That sounds like a great idea." And so I called my mom and asked her if I could stay overnight at the Star Trek convention. And she had Peter get on the phone, and Peter, with a straight face, told her, "Look, there's going to be no drinking, and this is we're just doing some Star Trek stuff here. It's no big deal." And so my mom agreed, and I got to spend the night there, and made out with this beautiful Trekkie girl for most of the evening. Like, we were up all night, just being kids and running around and having fun. I may have had a drink to look cool, but I didn't get drunk that night, but I was definitely running around, and we were making out all over the place. We got chased around by security guards and all this kind of stuff. And the next day, after being up all night, we had found this hallway to, like, get away from the big crowds of the convention. And I had my shirt off, and the girl I was with was giving me a back rub. I miss being young. And then down the hallway comes George Takei, and he's being followed by a million Trekkies, right? And we're like they had just come around a corner. There wasn't enough time to get away, and George Takei thankfully stops before he tramples me, and he sees me there on the ground with my shirt off, getting a back rub, and he's like, "My God, man, are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, man, I'm good." And then I kind of get out of the way, and he keeps walking down the hallway with a million Trekkies all coming up behind him. I use the term Trekkie. I'm proud to be a Trekkie. I don't think there's any reason to have a Trekker nomenclature. If anybody even has that debate anymore, right? I say it's about being a Trekkie. This other time we went, and we pull up to the hotel where the convention's at, and Scotty, James Doohan, was at this convention, and there he was, like, right in the parking lot as we pulled up, right? And he's getting out of his limo and getting his suitcases and whatnot. And so we're all, really excited. This was the one where it was like, for my birthday party, I wanted to take all my friends to the Star Trek convention. And so we got a hotel room, and I had about 5 or 10 guys there or something. We get out of the car, and there's James Doohan, and we're like, "Hey, Scotty, yeah, welcome to Denver, right on, man." And he's like, "Oh, great, laddies, great. I was hoping one of you all could tell me which way is the bar." And so, we were like, "Oh, yeah, you go into the hotel, and you turn left, and you'll get to the bar." I ran into Chekhov. There's not a great story there like the rest of them, but I met Chekhov, was like, "Hi, nice to meet you," and he was cool. And I was at, I think, the last convention I went to. It kind of stopped for a number of years, and during that time I stopped was the Leonard Nimoy one. I was young, I didn't have the money. And then after that, my friend Jeremy, who's not my friend anymore, was going to the Star Trek conventions with his friend Terrain. And I went down there a couple times with them. And at one of those ones, Nichelle Nichols, Uhura, was there. And I didn't go to see her speak. At this point, I was in my 30s, and so we were more about getting drunk at the bar. Doing some Trekkie stuff, but it was mostly we were there for the party more than the actual science fiction of it all. So we're sitting there at the bar. It was the bar was in a big courtyard in the middle of the hotel. And so I'm there with Jeremy, and we're drinking, and I see Uhura being escorted up to her room by her security, right? And I'm like, "Jeremy, there's Uhura. And he's like, "Where?" And I'm like, right there. And I point at where she's at. In a rather drunken manner, I'm sure. And she sees me doing this, right? And she just gets this huge smile on her face, and she waves at me. That's who she is. She's the humanitarian of the bunch. She's just so warm and loving that even from across this huge courtyard in the hotel, I could feel her warmth and passion. Gene Roddenberry was gone long before I got into it. Would have liked to meet him. Gene Roddenberry is a genius. That, like so many things in that old Star Trek show, are so culturally profound. Sulu is the name of a sea that connects all of the Asian countries. Maybe not. That's maybe not exactly right. But instead of Sulu being Japanese or Chinese or whatnot, that wasn't the important part. The important part was to have an Asian person on the show, and he didn't want to focus so much on nationalities. So he named him the sea between the nations. The first interracial kiss on television was on Star Trek between Kirk and Uhura. It had to be science fiction. The way it worked was they were both under mind control and commanded to kiss each other, and that was the only way it could get past the censors. Censors were like, well, okay, as long as they're not enjoying it, then I guess it's okay for a white person to kiss a black person, and vice versa, right? Like, there was a different time back then, and Gene Roddenberry certainly did his part into progressing culture into something a little bit better. Having an alien on the ship, having Spock, who is so not human, and yet you can respect his culture, even though he's different. And he can respect ours, even though we're a little crazy. Wow. So the news about Leonard Nimoy hit me hard today. And I know Logic Only Zone is also a big fan of Spock and Leonard Nimoy. So, hearts out to you, brother. Such is the way. Anyways, that's all I have to say again. Thanks for watching.